Hello, once again, I'm BR Schultz, SP 500. It is June 25th. Some of you are probably wondering what my estimate is for the S&P 500 in September 2030. As you can see, I'm putting an estimate of 10,347 as the final peak for September 2030. Now, if we were to reach this value at the end of, or by February of 2028, then I would have to I'd have to provide a new estimate, but I believe the full length target of my estimate should be around that 10,347 point range for the S&P 500 by the end of 2030, and then we would see a crash in the markets, taking markets down to 4,300 by the late 2034 year. So again, I think there'll be two peaks. I think there'll be a major peak in 2028, and then a secondary peak in late 2030, and then we would see that macro decline in markets. So I just want to give you a target estimate real quick today at the end of June here, 2025. I think markets will drop into some type of major low in very early August here. Once we top out here, I believe that there will be a nice sizable correction. I think the final peak will be around mid-July, maybe as late as July 18th. It is funny how we're very similar to 2024 cycles this year, with an April bottom, same as 2024, and then the models it didn't break down obviously yet, and so they're still looking for a bottom, some type of major low around very end of July or even early August. So I want to show you the monthly graph and then let you go here, but these are my targets for the upcoming Great Depression structure. So again, this is the monthly model that I have that predicts the peaks. It's kind of like the doomsday model or the end of the world model that I've created. It picks the major peaks in the markets, obviously, and it feels like the end of the world when the markets are crashing, when the economy's crashing. So the next major peak would be in the around February of 2028, around that Super Bowl, it looks like. Could it come a little earlier? Sure, it could. Could it be a year-end 2027? Yeah, it could. Could it be mid-January 2028? Yeah, it could. But there will be a major peak there, I believe. You'd see a cooling in the economy for about 6 to 8 months. And then around October, we find our final bottom. And then we would rocket back up into Labor Day of 2030, maybe Christmas of 2030. And then that would kick off the Great Depression. So again, I think this is mostly created by Jerome Powell and his team. He's been in the Fed chair position for many years now, and he could have corrected it. Yeah, but his policy has been horrible, if I'm understanding this correctly, and he'll be pretty much the primary responsible party for the Great Depression. Obviously, he controls interest rates, and he's done a really bad job, in my opinion, if this plays out as I'm seeing it. Obviously, 2031 through 2034 will really be the test to see if Jerome Powell correctly navigated the decade prior to 2030. But if the end of 2030 kicks off the Great Depression, that would be obviously the worst case scenario. And again, looking for a peak of 10,347 on the S&P 500 by the end of 2030. And again, if we reach that by February of 2028, I'll have to put out a new target, obviously, for 2030. But currently, I believe that the markets would reach their final destination, if you will, to the upside at about 10,347. My target's just slightly higher than that, but I'd rather be obviously I give your estimate a little bit of a haircut. So as the hope is to hit your target rate. So that is my my highest upside prediction for the market. Then we would see that decline in markets, and we would fall all the way down to about 4,300 on the S&P 500, maybe 4,000, somewhere around that range is my prediction, and that would occur into the end of or mid-late 2034 would be the final bottom in the markets. So thank you for joining me for part 7 of my Great Depression series. This is one of my better macro peak models that I use to, as you can see, call out major peaks in the markets. I back tested this. It was able to sync with 1999, 1987. I think it tested well for some other periods too, but it takes quite a bit of monthly data, obviously, before it creates a projection. So I can't really test like 1929 or anything like that. But as you can see, it has 2 very strong predictions going out into the future. So thank you for joining me, and I think I said that I think that around July 18th or around mid July to around July 18th of 2025 here, I believe, will be the final peak in the markets. If we were to hit like 62.30, 62.50, 62.20, 62.15 on the S&P, I believe that's where my final upside target is. So just north, around 62.20 or 62.30 is my upside target for that mid-July peak, or maybe sooner. And then it would depend on the structure, but we could have a 7% decline, or could be worse. I'm not really sure. If we get up to my target, my prediction is the maximum downside. If we get up to 62 something, we could actually have almost about a 800 point drop into the early August 2025 low. So again, what I would need to see about 62, 20, 30, 50, somewhere in there to get a good 800 point drop in the markets into the early August low. But I think the structure is there for a pretty big drop. But we'll have to see if Trump and Jerome Powell and the AI I'm sure that they're incorporating from Palantir is really, I think, messing up markets. It's making it very difficult to trade when you incorporate AI at the Fed to trade the market. I think they're going to do a lot more things overnight to try to soften the blow during the daytime, similar to what we saw in June, how they put all the risk in the 2 a.m. so that when you woke up in the morning, all the risk was gone. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of the norm in the next into late 2030. They find ways to trick markets, so to speak, and somehow they push the negative information late at night. And don't ask me how that they'll do that, but they've done that in June here. So it would seem that that could be a new normal, or that AI is able to really push markets up much quicker than some of the older technology that was manipulating the market or managing the market price levels. So that's my prediction. But so we would see a peak around July, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then we would have a drop in markets into roughly that first week in August of 2025 for the final low. I think that'll be leg 2 down, and then we'll start working our way up into the end of 2025. Maybe have a spill in March of 2026, but all this to say that the focus is really on the macro climb. into the Super Bowl of 2028 for the next macro peak, as you can see here in the model. Thank you for joining me today. I'm B.R. Schultz, SP500. Until next time, take care. And you can always follow me on the GoFundMe over the next decade. That's really what I'm trying to do, is turn over a new leaf, trying to create more videos instead of blogging. I have more time to think and less time to be, just write a bunch of garbage at times on my blog, but hopefully the videos really increase the value to the viewer. And hopefully over the next decade, who knows, maybe there's a mass following. Maybe people really start to enjoy my work. Maybe my model really starts to hit it off really well. And then obviously as time winds down into late 2030, if you're watching this in 28, 29, 20, 30, please feel free to share this with others. Build some hype around this model, obviously around Labor Day, Christmas of 2030. See if the Great Depression kicks off as predicted and then ends in the summer or late fall of 2034. Thank you so much. Until next time. Again, this is just a snippet of the GoFundMe page. I didn't want you to forget that, so thank you. And please bookmark it, whatever, and watch it over the next decade or into late 2034. Thank you so much.